Our story today took place in 1980 in the United States of America, in a city called Burbank, located in the state of California. One day, at 2 p.m., the city streets were extremely crowded. Everyone was outside, children were leaving school, the streets were filled with buses and cars, and people were angry, but not because of the traffic. It was something else. In every car, the radio was on, and people were listening to the news. The station California News was broadcasting a report at that moment, saying, "Today is December 17th, 1980. The weather is beautiful and the sun is shining. Here are the top stories." At that same time, in a corner of the city, there was a large aircraft factory belonging to the company Lockheed. The factory was bustling with engineers, quality experts, and workers, all trying to finish their tasks before 5 p.m., the end of their shift. Among the employees was a woman named Etta Louise Smith, 32 years old, one of the most experienced staff members and quality experts at the factory. She was a single mother with 2 daughters, struggling to provide for them. Despite the challenges of her job, she was diligent and ambitious. While working, she heard a news report on the radio about a woman named Melanie Rebbe, who had been missing for 2 days. The police had not been able to locate her despite their ongoing efforts. Melanie was a nurse at the Pacoima Burbank Hospital, 31 years old, and also a single mother with 1 child. She was known for her discipline and had never been late to work. On December 15, 1980, Melanie was supposed to work the night shift, but she never showed up and didn't call in. Her co-workers at the hospital feared something bad had happened to her and immediately contacted the police. When the officers went to her home, they found no one there, not even her young son, who had been sent to stay with relatives. At exactly 10:45 p.m., the police received a report from a man who claimed he had seen a woman wearing a nurse's uniform and a leather jacket sitting in her car at a traffic light. He said that masked and gloved men, who were armed, approached her vehicle and abducted her in front of bystanders. The next day, December 16, 1980, Melanie's car was found burned outside the city, along one of the highways. It had been reduced to ashes. At that point, the police officially declared Melanie missing and released her photo. The news spread quickly, and panic gripped the public, especially since California in the 1970s and 1980s had been plagued by serial killers. People began buying locks and securing their homes tightly. Young women stopped going out alone. The police received hundreds of calls, and the public demanded that safety be restored to their community. During that time, Etta was at the factory, thinking deeply about what had happened. She was afraid. Melanie was close to her in age, and their situations were similar. She wondered what had happened to her son and where Melanie might be now. Then she turned her attention back to the news and heard the announcer say, "After searching Melanie's home and the nurse's residence near the hospital, no evidence was found." At that moment, Etta became angry inside and asked herself, why are they only searching her house? Her car was found burned outside the city. How could she have gone back home? What are the police thinking? Etta was extremely shaken, but what happened after her outburst was anything but normal. She heard a loud and clear voice saying to her, "I'm not at the residence, nor at my home. I'm not in any house." She looked around, terrified. The voice was unmistakably clear, but there was no one there. Before she could convince herself she was imagining things, the voice came again, but this time from a farther distance, repeating the same sentence. "I'm not at my home. I'm not in any house." That's when Etta realized the voice was inside her head. And as she grasped this, the scene around her changed. The machinery and aircraft parts she had seen moments earlier vanished. In their place appeared a desert, with mountains in the distance, and on the ground, a nurse's uniform covered in blood. What was happening wasn't a hallucination. She could see everything with her own eyes. Deep inside, she knew that this was something beyond the natural, something unbelievable. But she decided to follow through with it. Etta felt that the voice she had heard was Melanie's, guiding her to the location of her body, which meant that Melanie was likely dead. She immediately left work without informing her manager and went straight to the police station. The officers received her, and she told them she had information about Melanie. They took her into an officer's office, who welcomed her and asked her to share everything she knew. She told him that Melanie was in a desert area called Lopez Canyon, located just outside of Burbank, specifically near the San Gabriel Mountains. The officer was puzzled and asked her how she knew that. She told him she had a vision and heard a voice in her mind. The officer's expression changed, and he began to doubt her story, thinking she sounded like one of those obsessed with high-profile cases. Etta tried to convince him that she was telling the truth and that she wasn't seeking fame, but she felt discouraged by his disbelief. As she was leaving, she asked if they would at least search the area. He replied dismissively, saying he would order a search, just to appease her. Etta returned home and told her family what had happened. Her family trusted her and believed her, and they decided to accompany her to search the desert themselves. That night, she had another dream of the same place. She saw a rock, a small ravine, and part of a nurse's shoe resting on the stones. Early the next morning, Etta set out with her daughter, her niece, and a friend. She drove the car, instinctively knowing the way. When they reached the sign she had seen in her dream, she stopped the car and said that the search would begin here. After hours of searching through rough terrain, she noticed tire tracks and recognized them from her dream. She followed the tracks until she reached a small ravine, where she saw a small pale body lying next to a rock. It was Melanie's body. It had been there for quite some time. She called the police, and the forensic teams arrived at the location. The officer who had doubted her earlier was stunned to find her at the crime scene. Etta sat next to the body, crying, unable to speak. According to the report, Melanie had been the victim of a violent assault and beating. She was wearing a torn nurse's uniform, with visible signs of abuse on her body, and a skull fracture caused by a blow from a large rock. Etta was temporarily arrested as a suspect and held for 4 days during the investigation, as the detectives tried to determine how she had located the body in a place no one had thought to search. But they found no evidence linking her to the crime, so she was later released. At first, no one believed what Etta was saying. She was accused of seeking fame. But after an investigation, it became clear that she lived a quiet life. She had never sought attention and held a prestigious position at an aircraft factory with a high salary. Investigators found no motive for her to lie or act, which only deepened the mystery. The police decided to subject her to a lie detector test. She underwent the test multiple times and passed every time. As Etta mentioned in one of her interviews, she endured intense psychological pressure during this period, with officers trying to trick her by telling her she had failed the test just to see her reaction. But she confidently responded, "I passed the test, and you know it. There's no need to lie." Some investigators accused her of being trained to beat the polygraph test because of how calm she was and her control over her breathing and heart rate. They repeatedly questioned her. "Who helped you? Who committed the crime? You must know something." But her answer was always, "Believe me, I don't know." The investigation continued for 4 days, during which Etta was mistreated, her reputation was smeared in the media, and she was unjustly accused of Melanie's murder, despite the absence of any physical evidence linking her to the crime. Although her story about a vision leading her to the body seemed strange, the judges weren't convinced and decided to bring her to trial. But on the 4th day, just before the trial was set to begin, a confidential informant, working undercover in dangerous neighborhoods, came forward with crucial information. He told the police that he had been sitting with a group of young men, one of whom was a 17-year-old named Norman Wells. He overheard Norman talking about the abduction of a girl from Burbank, claiming they had planned it in advance. Norman described to his friends what had happened that night. They were hiding behind trees near an abandoned traffic light. When Melanie stopped at the red light, Lewis jumped into the front seat and threatened her with a knife, while Spencer and Norman got into the back seat. Spencer pointed a gun at her, and they ordered her to drive. They took her to a desert area outside the city. She was crying and pleading, "I have a child, please let me go back to him." But they showed no mercy. They sexually assaulted her, with Norman participating, despite initially hesitating. Afterward, they drove the car to a remote location, set it on fire to destroy evidence, then walked a long distance before taking a taxi back to the city. When the informant expressed doubt, he said to Norman, "What if she's still alive? You guys are idiots for not making sure." Norman replied confidently, "We didn't leave her alive. Lewis crushed her skull with a rock so she couldn't testify against us." That detail was crucial, because the police had never publicly disclosed that the victim's skull had been crushed. This confirmed that Norman was one of the perpetrators. Based on this testimony, the police released Etta and arrested the 3 suspects. Norman Wells, 17 years old. Spencer Nelson, 21 years old. Lewis, 22 years old. Norman's photo was not published because he was a minor under the law. While California still applied the death penalty at the time, the sentences handed down were: Spencer and Lewis, life imprisonment. Norman, 7 years in juvenile detention. After her exoneration, Etta filed a lawsuit against the police for mistreatment, defamation, and unlawful detention. The legal battle lasted 6 years. She initially demanded $1 million in compensation, but ultimately received $250,000. In one of her interviews, Etta said that what happened to her destroyed her psychologically and socially. She insisted she was only trying to help the police and admitted she had no clear explanation for how she knew the location of the body. Was it a vision? A coincidence? No one knows. But the one certain truth is that she was innocent, and that she helped uncover the crime, even if no one truly understands how. And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel and turning on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Tell us in the comments, what shocked you the most about this story? See you in a new story. Stay safe and take care.